Well, it's been quite a week for you late-night TV fans. It seems that finally Stephen Colbert has taken over David Letterman's place on The Late Show. Now, you're probably saying, why is he bringing this up? Well, Colbert gave some very interesting interviews a couple of years ago and just recently to a New York Times reporter, and he talked about how people say that a profound sadness often is what is the undergirding of what makes a good comedian. Well, you see, in 1974, when Colbert was 10 years old and the youngest of 11 children, his father, a doctor, and his brothers Peter and Paul, the two closest to him in age, died in a plane crash while flying to a prep school in New England. And Colbert told the reporter that as an adult, he carries no bitterness. But he said, that experience is built into me like marble is built into the shape of a statue. That experience is part of what makes Colbert who he is today. He went on to say, in talk about his mother and her faith, he said, "She taught me to be grateful for my life, regardless of what that entailed. And that's directly related," she said, "to the image of Christ on the cross and the example his sacrifice has given to us. What she taught me is that the deliverance God offers you from pain is not no pain, it's that the pain is actually a gift." What's the option, he says? God doesn't really give you another choice. Now, that wasn't said by the most pious and holiest of men, but said by sometimes an outlandish comedian. A profound sadness is built into him like marble in a statue. And it's this profound sadness that enabled him to talk openly about the image of Christ on the cross and pain as a gift. The scriptures this weekend are all about suffering and how Isaiah suffered and he did not turn back, and how Jesus has to rebuke Peter because Peter tells Jesus not to suffer, not to die on the cross, not to experience all his difficulties. So I believe this weekend we are challenged with that life will provide us all with crosses, some light, some very heavy, and each one of us must figure out how we carry these crosses. And do our crosses bring us closer to God, or do we allow our crosses to turn us off to life? Now, after Colbert lost his father and two brothers, it was just he and his mother, because his siblings were all so much older than him that they had moved out of the home. At such a young age, he was very much aware of how devastating this was for his mother. She not only lost her husband, but she lost two of her children. And he told the reporter that it was then that he began to raise his mother. All he wanted to do was make her happy. He had a strong urge, he said, to cheer up a sad woman. And this was a very difficult time for him. He had difficulty making friends. He described himself as detached. He couldn't see importance in anything in life. The world made no sense to him. He talked about disassociating. He got involved with science fiction, fantasy novels, Dungeons and Dragons to deal with his difficulties. Yet he states that it was his mother's Catholic faith that brought him through this. And as an adult, he taught religious education. He was the catechist for 3 of his children going through First Communion, and he attended, and perhaps still does, daily Mass. It's through a profound sadness that he was able to deepen his faith. And he admits he's not the most pious Catholic, and he very much understands how flawed the church is. Yet he sees his faith that his mother gave to him as a gift that enabled him to put perspective on this profound sadness. In the first reading, Isaiah suffered, but he allowed God's grace to get him through this suffering. Jesus took on the cross to let us know that that's not all there is in life, that Easter always follows after Good Friday. So our challenge for each one of us: how do we deal with the crosses that life presents to each of us? How do we cope? Certainly our culture provides us with countless ways to numb our pain. There's drugs and alcohol, sex and gambling, shopping and constant busyness, constant running. And we can also simply just give up on life. We can become angry and bitter and hateful, and we can make life for those around us simply miserable. Or we can hear what David Brooks writes about when he says that one of the main goals in life is not just about maximizing happiness, but it's about being formed through our suffering. That's a great line he uses, being formed through our suffering. He wrote an interesting article last year about how people are ennobled through suffering. And he wrote about Abraham Lincoln and Franklin Roosevelt becoming much more deeper and empathic human beings. And Brooks gives us some very powerful Jewish theology. He tells us that the right response to pain isn't pleasure. He says the right response to pain is holiness. And what he means by this is that our response to our crosses is to see that they help us see life as a moral drama, where we place the hard experiences in a moral context and we try to redeem something bad by turning it into something sacred. And certainly we as a nation just passed another anniversary of 9/11, where something extremely bad has provided the entire nation and world with a profound sadness that we struggle to turn it into something sacred that will make us better people, deeper people, people closer to our God. 1 year ago in August, Robin Williams committed suicide, as we all know. And just a few weeks ago, his daughter Zelda put this on Instagram. She wrote, "I spent this night shivering and laughing under a clear, cold sky full of stars with people I love to just witness something beautiful. Avoiding fear, sadness, or anger is not the same thing as being happy. I live my sadness every day, but I don't resist it anymore. And for those suffering from depression, I know how dark and endless that tunnel can feel. But if happiness seems impossible to find, please hold on to the possibility of hope, faint though it may be, because I promise you, there are enough nights under the same yellow moon for all of us to share, no matter how or when you find your way there." And if you did happen to watch in Colbert this week, you may have seen the powerful interview with Joe Biden, who also talked about his Catholic faith that brought him through the recent death of his son Beau and the death of his wife so many years ago. I'm sure that there are many people right here in this church who carry a profound sadness in your hearts. Those who've lost a spouse, those who have lost children, those who have been betrayed by someone you thought loved you. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross once wrote, "The most beautiful people we have known are those who have known defeat, known suffering, known struggle, known loss, and have found their way out of those depths." This is the challenge of the scriptures this weekend. Suffering and crosses, realities that none of us can escape. Isaiah didn't rebel, and the essential symbol of our Catholic Christian faith is the cross. And in the gospel, we are told that unless we pick up that cross, we cannot follow the Christ. Well, one of the best comedians, Colbert, carries inside his heart a profound sadness. But he is able to understand that the deliverance God offers us from pain is not no pain. It's that the pain can actually be a gift. In the midst of this profound sadness, he is a man grateful for his life. It is only grace that brings one to this kind of acceptance. And I am sure that in each one of us there is some kind of profound sadness that can make or break us. And so in our Eucharist this weekend, let us all pray for the grace that our profound sadness, our crosses, will make each one of us better and deeper individuals.